Hey there, balanced lady bosses. This is Stacy, and welcome to another epic episode of the Balanced Lady Boss Show. Today, I am really excited to be bringing to the stage a colleague and longtime sister girlfriend. That's actually something interesting because this is the first time I've had someone from my high school days on the show. So no secrets though, no secret sharing. But I want you all to give a warm welcome to Kerry Betton Stimpson, who is a financial services marketer working here on the island in Jamaica. But I believe JMB actually is a regional company, so lots of busyness there. And someone that I consider to be a real girl boss, like just killing it. When you check out her LinkedIn profile, she's looking so much like a wicked good diva and just having all these conversations. I get these notifications about Kerry Ann Stimpson's messages or the recent post. I get all these notifications about the recent post is trending. And I'm like, okay, girl, you go, you get it, do that. One of the things that I really loved about Kerry Ann's bio is where she talked about being a firm believer in the need to implement creative out-of-the-box marketing strategies to drive customer engagement and employee engagement that create the win for brands. Now, while that may be true in the corporate sense, I think that she, through her words on LinkedIn in particular, also shows that creativity and also shows that out-of-the-box conversation, which is how this conversation actually came about, where she's connecting with her audience that way, right? Now, Kerry Ann has recently launched her own podcast, the Internal Marketing Podcast, which I definitely want to hear about that. So it's a passion project, yes?
Absolutely.
Okay, excellent. It's a passion project. And you know that here on the Balanced Lady Boss, we absolutely believe in those passion projects, those zone of genius projects. And I think it's where she's able to combine her zone of genius in marketing with the working world with her zone of genius of sharing. And her aim is to flip the marketing conversation to focus on how companies can market internally with a view to engaging and empowering them to become advocates of the company brand. And as any other balanced lady boss that I have on this show, she wears multiple hats. I don't know why we're always doing these things where we take on like true Jamaican 10 job. So she's a wife, a mom, daughter, sister, and friend, which is actually also something I talk about. Like we have to represent all the roles that we play because all of these things pull on our greatness. And I'm just happy to welcome you because all those things continue to pull on your greatness and you took the time out of your busy schedule to come and have a chat with us. So welcome, Kerry. We're going to have a wicked good chat today.
Absolutely, Stacey. Thanks so much for having me. I was highly flattered when you reached out to me. I'm like, the fact that Stacey sees me as some kind of boss, lady boss of something in a world where sometimes things are just so crazy. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna add this to my resume now. I feel
Nice.
very, very good.
Nice. I love it. All right, Kerry. So, first of all, let me just tell you that I really love your rebranded look. And I actually think that it's something that I want to talk about as a part of the original topic I had shared that I wanted us to touch on. But I think it's so important for us to always step into our inner and outer beauty to make ourselves feel like, good about stepping into the workplace, into the home, just about yourself in general.
Absolutely. It's I don't know where you want to start because it's like there's so many things that I've invested in and changed and evolved about myself over the past, I would say almost 2 years now. The biggest being probably my hair. And also my weight loss lifestyle change in diet and exercise. Over the last 2 years I've lost maybe about 20 pounds as well.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm very, very excited about it. The thing is, it's actually coming from an interesting place. I think apart from the weight loss, the biggest transformation I think is my hair. And
Yes.
that story is actually one where my hair was always something that I hated, my natural hair.
Really?
Yeah, man, as a child, especially as a teenager, I used to be teased mercilessly by boys who just didn't
Oh.
like my natural hair.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
it kinky so or it not up so and why it can't straight and long. And and my mother was one of those that didn't want to cream my hair before I turned 13.
Okay.
So here I was dying to get my hair relaxed because for me, straight hair now became the definition of beauty.
Beauty.
And
Yeah.
having relaxed my hair, and then of course the boys come out of the woodwork now and love the hair and thing and thing and thing because it was kind of long too. I kept that relaxed look for all the years since. And then my sister transitioned back to her natural hair, and I thought it was pretty cute. And then I noticed the whole natural hair movement on YouTube
Hmm.
and so on. And just even among our teenage generation now, it's like it's a
Yes.
thing to be natural. It's like if you
Yes.
relax your hair, you're in the minority. But what really was a turning point for me, though, Stacey, was having two daughters. And my
Mm.
daughters, I realized from a very early age, I'm talking 3 and 4, they started to exhibit signs that they hated their hair.
Oh
And I
no.
remember my 3-year-old throwing a tantrum one day while I was combing her hair. She's like, "Mommy, why don't you can't you comb my hair down like yours?" And I'm like, "Down? What are you talking about?" I think she's talking about like a low ponytail. "No, Mommy, I want my hair to look down like yours." And then a few weeks later, I realized down meant straight
Straight.
down. Hers went out. So I'm like, oh my God, okay, no, 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 no. I'm like, it's gonna change. And so I started to transition. I stopped relaxing. I didn't do the big chop. I didn't have the balls for that. But I started to transition because I wanted, if nothing else, for my daughters to love their hair. And
Mm.
even if they
Hmm.
chose to relax when they got older, that's fine. But never
Right.
said that they did not develop a love for hair and they didn't see a mother who loved her hair as well.
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah.
2 years ago. So now they're like, "Mommy, your hair looks just like ours." And it's really great because again, I want them to relish in the beauty of their hair. And so that for me, and I'm so happy about it. It's one of the best decisions. My only regret is that I didn't do it sooner.
Wow. No, that's so inspiring, Kerry. Oh my gosh. Well, I went the opposite in COVID. It's funny because I literally just did a post, well, not a post. Kenya Linton George posted a question about natural hair persons because she's had all this beautiful natural hair for however
Yeah.
long. And everybody was just talking about natural hair and how it's so great. I know they love their curls. And I had a completely opposite experience.
Mm.
Like I hated the process of having to wash and I was doing it for like I think I made a 5-year commitment to having my hair natural because I normally would wear my hair short, like a would be permed,
Hmm.
or I would wear braids, right? And what I ended up doing was in COVID, there was one evening I was in the bathroom and I had just washed my hair and I was going through the process of now, combing it out and then having to blow dry it. And then because I actually like wearing my hair straight. But somewhere along the lines, I developed shame around that because I was experiencing, oh, you want to look like a white woman or you want to have the Euro look. Like I
Mm.
would get, so there's two sides to the spectrum, right? It's just
Yeah.
like crazy.
Yeah.
And my girls also really love their hair natural. They're
Mm.
actually into watching the million YouTube videos and standing in the bathroom and doing all the stuff. Girl, it was mid COVID. I think it was like June after
Yeah.
2 months of lockdown. And let me tell you something. I went straight to the pharmacy and I bought a kiddie box perm and I came home and I just plaster my head. I was so done with
Yeah.
natural,
It's rough. It's rough.
But I absolutely I love your natural curls. Your hair is
Thank
really, really,
you.
and the cut is so cute. It suits you. So
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah,
there's
I'm
a
very
lot to
happy
be
with it.
embraced in that. Total
Yeah.
segue, guys, because we weren't here to talk about hair today. But anyway,
Right. It is what it is.
talk to me about your journey because I actually didn't realize, so now it's 7 years since I moved back to the island. And our my first actual encounter of you at work was
Mhm.
when Paul Brunson came to the island,
Yeah.
and I hijacked the brunch. Like I literally crashed the very
And we didn't
exclusive.
kick her out, guys. We didn't kick her out.
She didn't. She was so nice. Like literally, guys. I was like my one of my girlfriends, Lissandra, was an invited participant, and she was like, "You have to come with me," and I'm like, "But I did that." Anyway, so went and saw Kerry Ann just like doing it. And I thought it was really great the way that the whole thing was organized and how you were managing the room and just allowing the different personalities to engage. I
Yeah.
just really enjoyed the experience. Very high class, just really well done. And I thought to myself, I was like, well, damn, Kerry, go ahead. I felt really proud to know you in that moment.
Yeah.
And then ever since then, I've kind of actually been keeping my eye out on
Mm.
whatever JMMB has been doing, because I know that you're in the mix with all things marketing, and marketing is one of my spaces that I love to play in. So
Yeah.
I from the outside it really looks like it's something that you love doing and that you
Yeah.
do well, and I
Hmm.
would love to hear how you evolved in your career space.
Yeah. Wow. Well, and I'll try and keep that as short as possible. Stacey, and I know even in one of the lead up discussions or communication that we had with each other coming up to the show, we spoke about imposter syndrome and my struggle, and my career journey is kind of bred out of that, in the sense that from as early as I can remember, for me, I always sought validation of who I was from someone else.
Hmm.
I was never ever comfortable with feeling comfortable in my own skin with who I was. And so my career journey was kind of bred out of that, in the sense that in the early days, in Jamaica, we have to, at the end of third form, you have to choose what subjects you're going to take for end of year exams to graduate high school. And I wanted to become a doctor because I felt that that's what my dad wanted me to do,
Oh, wow.
and then chose the science subjects, made a mess of it, didn't do very well at those final exams, graduated high school. Then sixth form, it was something else, because okay, I can't do medicine, what else can I do? I picked up accounting, which was also an epic fail.
Mhm.
And then going into university, and still not knowing, and then finally reaching a place of doing different business management courses, and I did a marketing course literally, and just fell in love with the course. Obviously still uncertain, because again, there are no marketers in your family. Is it something that's going to make enough money? My dad was very focused on education, and he's always been a big influence in my life, and I always wanted to please him. I always wanted to do whatever
Mhm.
was right in his eyes. And so that journey of choosing marketing had its own little hiccups, because I didn't know if it was, I guess, a good enough career to do. But when you find something that clicks for you in terms
Yeah.
of how your brain works,
Mhm.
it really is just something you enjoy. That was what sold the decision for me. Went away shortly after university to do my MBA at the University of Maryland. I was the only Black international student in the program, but really met some great people, had an awesome experience there, completed my MBA, was looking for employment in the United States. I'm not a citizen or a resident, and couldn't find any because of that. There was
Oh.
nobody willing, and it came back down to, again, marketing. We're not going to put out for a work permit visa for a marketing function. I mean, we got marketers a dime a dozen here. Maybe IT, that would have probably been better. And I literally just had to pack up and come back home, and start from the ground up here. And absolutely no regrets in that regard, because I had to I had to start again, but it was a tremendous learning experience, working with awesome people like Peter Bunting, Daring
Mhm.
Bunting and Golding, Gary Sinclair there at the time, people like Chris Williams, and
Mhm.
moving through the Grace Kennedy group, having to interact
Oh.
with folks like Douglas Arena and Don Webby. I mean, in a space where you're connecting with so many captains of industry in your country is really really a blessing, and I was very happy for it. And here I am now at JMMB, 8 years in,
Oh.
with what is a regional organization, as you said at the top. And it's been a journey,
Mhm.
and here is where I am today.
Okay. No, that's really great. You said a couple of key things there, Kerry, that I want you to hone in on for me. So
Yeah.
you talked about feeling accepted as a youth about the career path you were choosing. And I can't tell you countless persons I've met who chose a path because their parents wanted it or they thought that's the direction they had to go because their parents wouldn't have accepted something else, kind of thing, and when you're going through that process, is it something that stays with you just as a youth, or is that something that you found coming up for you even as you were going through university and as you decided to take your MBA and go abroad? Were you seeing where it was, I guess, showing up in multiple places after the initial thought process, even after not doing well with the sciences, the doctor's story kind of falling apart in your own mind? Did you see that feeling showing up for you when you came into adulthood?
So what would have really showed up for me, Stacey, is what having made the decision to pursue a career path was one thing, and having made that choice, I was comfortable with the choice.
Mm-hmm.
What I think would have showed up, and again, this is where the imposter syndrome comes in, is whether or not you feel good enough to succeed, whether you think you're good enough to do what you
Yeah,
want to do.
yeah.
And going back to the thing of, all, it was always for me, always having to get validation from someone else, whether it be validation from my boss, validation from my own team,
Mm-hmm.
validation from colleagues in the industry. That was always a sticking point for me. And throughout the course of my career, even though I knew, yes, this is marketing, this is what I wanted to do, it would manifest itself in maybe me not using my voice more, you know.
Yeah.
Being in a meeting, if I'm in a meeting with people who I feel are just super smart, have their stuff together, that's when I retract within myself
Mm,
and I don't speak up. I don't use my voice
mm,
because I don't think that I would sound as intelligent, or I don't have enough to say. And this is,
mm-hmm.
they don't need to say anything to me. And that's the
Right.
irony, and that's the beauty. It's not like anybody's looking at me and saying, "Oh girl, what are you bringing to the table? You ain't got nothing." I mean, for us, for me, it's the story that we tell ourselves that we're not good enough, we don't deserve the success that we have. There is some fluke of a reason why you ended up being CMO of a financial group of companies. So recognize that it's just a fluke, and don't even try and pretend otherwise. And I just would always recoil into myself. And that was where my struggle always was. It was just knowing how to be courageous, how to step out there, how to use my voice, and how to feel that, you know what, I have a right to be here at the table just like anybody else.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I have a right to be here. I love that. Now, how did that play into when you had to, as you say, pack it up and come back to start over, right? Because I know that being trained in the US or Europe would be great for a marketer. So even if you weren't planning on staying, just getting that on the job training would have been so epic. So that must have been very disappointing for you when you came back
Absolutely.
home now and you're doing these, you're deciding to do these interviews. How are you stepping into that space of, okay, I'm going to go do this? How are you, what were you doing? Is it countering with positive self-talk? What were you using as tools, or did you have any at that time, or did they develop later on? Tell me about that.
Yeah. For me, it was, well, first of all, I actually thought that I was coming back to Jamaica. Having gotten an overseas degree, I thought that that was a plus on my resume. Right.
Okay.
What
Mm-hmm.
I did not have was, I didn't have enough marketing work experience prior
Mm-hmm.
to getting the MBA. So I felt that that was my Achilles heel.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was determined to do at the time was to make as strong an impression as possible. Whether it was in the interview or throughout the course of my job, it was always looking at how can I make an impact in this particular area, because at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, I'm very big on performance. I'm very big on how you deliver what it is you're supposed to be delivering to the table. And so for me, it was, okay, how can I make this impact here? I remember when I was being interviewed for the very first job that I got when I came back to Jamaica. I remember being interviewed by the CEO for a marketing role. And I did an interview, textbook interview, because again, you're coming from the States, so they train you in all of that, right? So I had all my
Yes.
responses down. And then at the end of the interview, he said, any questions? And I asked a couple of questions about the company culture or whatever, whatever. And he said, any more questions? I said, well, actually, I have a question for you. Do you have any questions that you have of me that would help you to make a decision in my favor, right?
Oh,
And
that's a
he
good one.
said, and I learned it in career counseling as well. Always, because that's a question you ask when you want people, you want to identify if there are any gaps for the
Right.
interviewer that maybe you didn't get a chance to address. And he said, actually, there is. I said, really? He said, well, to be honest with you, your resume looks great. I like what I'm hearing, but I just don't think you're going to fit in here. That's really my problem. I really don't think you're going to fit into our culture.
Oh,
And to cut a long story short, I kind of understood where he came from. And I was able to speak to that directly. I was able to say, you know what, at the end of the day, this is what I'm about. This is what I stand for. This is what I'm going to be bringing to the table. And at the end of the day, especially having worked and gone to school in such diverse
yes.
cities and
Yeah.
programs, people from all sorts of ethnicities, so
Mm-hmm.
sexual orientation,
Orientation.
I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I said to him, I'm bringing such a diverse array of experiences to the table that I can fit in anywhere, because at the end of the day, it's about respecting people. It's about bringing your 110% to the table. So I don't think you have anything to worry about where that is concerned. And of course, I got the job. So,
Ah, look at
so
you.
it really was about recognizing early up that it's about your your PR image. As I say to
Mm,
people, always ask if you have a PR problem. How are people perceiving you?
mm.
How are you landing on people? And whether or not you need to make any adjustments in order to shift the perception that people have of you as best as possible, so that you're landing in a way that helps you to get where you need to go in your career.
Okay, no, that's really good. That's really good. I'm really taken by the way that someone that was experiencing imposter syndrome throughout their career has, on the flip side of that, the answers to the questions,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and able to focus on what you're about. Because
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I hear the voice in my head, but guess what? I'm looking for this outcome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking to make this type of impact. And
Mm-hmm.
so that essentially overrides the voice to get you to a particular point
Mm-hmm.
until it decides it's going to show its head again,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Did you experience imposter syndrome in anywhere else other than your career?
Well, I guess the most recent example would have been when I was actually rolling out my podcast. So you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned the Paul Brunson breakfast. I mean, that was that those 2 days of his being in Jamaica and doing the whole event with him as our keynote and working that closely with him was life changing, right? In the sense that here you are interacting with someone who helps you to see things from such a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And I got the opportunity to go through a mastermind with him, a mastermind program on thought leadership and building your personal brand. And what really reared its head for me was he said that, and he basically said it, is that I kept hiding behind the corporate brand. So
Mm.
I've been, marketing all my life. So whenever I go out there, it's really to represent the company brand that I'm representing. I'm doing media interviews on the fly. It's all good. I'm taking pictures, shaking hands, but it's always behind the company brand, because the company brand is what validated me. It's because of the company brand why I get to be
Right.
here, and I'm
Right.
comfortable behind that veil. And he
Right.
said to me, but Kerry Ann, you're virtually undiscoverable on social media. I can't find you. And he was
Mm.
correct. I didn't even have an Instagram account because I was just afraid of the scrutiny.
Yeah.
I didn't want people to be digging into my stuff. I was afraid of trolling. And again, I just didn't think, even on LinkedIn, all these awesome people throwing out content every day, every week. And you're
Girl.
like, well, I don't even deserve to be here, right? And then he was like, but why do you think that way? Look at everything that you have accomplished and break it down. Where are you here? And how do you live your life? And even though you still don't have it all figured out, you're better than you were yesterday. And where you were yesterday, someone else is there today.
Mm.
They can learn from you today what you had learned yesterday.
Yesterday.
Turn around and help them. And that's how you need to look at it. You're always one day ahead in your journey than someone else is. So you can turn around and you can help them. And that's how I started to see it. And so that for me, so it really took me a while actually to launch the podcast, because again, it's trying to get over, well, who are you to launch a podcast? Internal marketing, no one else has ever done it before. There's no such other podcast that exists. You know, what right do you have to be here? You always get that voice, but it's always about your one day, you're one step ahead of someone else who is there today where you were yesterday, and you can always add value.
Mm.
And so for me, it was overcoming that fear and overcoming that voice of diffidence to just don't jump right in and get it done. So to me, that would have been the most recent example of having to battle with that, just to step out and be bold in using my voice there.
Whoa. I mean, like, I felt that one so deep. In particular, and I'll talk about Paul in a second,
Yeah.
because I'm a huge fan.
Yeah.
But you are always a step ahead
Hmm.
of someone else in their journey.
Yeah.
Turn around and help them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's as simple as that.
It's just, you know, and
Yeah.
I was hearing you say it, but then when I examined what this whole movement of the Balanced Lady Boss is about, it's exactly that, because this story
Mm-hmm.
here
Mm-hmm.
birthed me not wanting a whole bunch of other women to go through the same thing.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
may not be, and I too have suffered and still continue to suffer a lot from imposter syndrome, in particular with compare compete.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where it shows up for me the most.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but just never feeling good enough to help. Even it sounds strange, but I never felt good enough to help. It took me forever to get my book out
Mm-hmm.
because I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know, there's tons of other books out there about women who have surpassed this and that. And I would come up with all these different
Mm-hmm.
stories
Mm-hmm.
about not being good enough to help, to serve,
Mm-hmm.
and the truth is that it really is just that much, that simple, that you are a step ahead. You have made it through certain types of transformation, and now you have an opportunity to lend a hand to somebody else.
Yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely.
that's so
Absolutely.
good. Oh my gosh,
Brings such
that's
a
like,
fresh
yeah.
perspective. And if I could confess something, shortly after you came back to Jamaica, so Stacey, of course, I remember you. I remember you vividly from high school, right?
Really, I don't remember nothing about high school. People always say them remember everything. I don't
Well,
remember
I don't remember
nothing.
everything, but I remember you. You were always you weren't you like in the I feel like you were probably in the drama club or something, but you were always out there on the
Yes,
cheerleading squad, just
and
making a lot of
dancing, yeah.
noise and things. And then I remember you disappeared after a while. I figured you migrated like most of our class did. And then I remember seeing you in Jamaica. I'm like, oh my God, is she back? And then I saw you again. I figured, okay, maybe you're visiting. You're back. And then we booked up at a function at the Jamaica Pegasus. I think it was a Gleaner function for the Gleaner.
Okay. Okay.
And we stood in the lobby waiting to be let into the main ballroom. And you just started to talk. And you were talking about networking and how Jamaicans see networking different from how you would have obviously experienced it having lived in North America.
Right.
And let me tell you, I just took some nuggets from you that day, because you started to talk about how sometimes we tend to be very insular as a people. We only want to stay in our little clique and so
Yes.
on. And then you started to talk about how people need to get out and reach out more and so on. And I was literally taking mental notes all
Oh,
day long. I'll never forget that interaction. And you probably don't even remember it. You probably don't. You're looking at me like, what are you talking about? Because even when we went into the ballroom, people started to move chairs from the table
Yes.
to go and sit with their friends.
Okay,
And you're
then.
like, instead of just sitting at a table and meeting new people, we
Yeah.
gravitate back to our cliques. You're like,
Yes.
why? I want to meet you. I want to get to know you. What's so
Yes.
wrong in that? And then I'll never forget that interaction. And
Oh,
I ascribed it to the fact that, you know what, you had a different journey and you're able to come back and pour into me, pour into someone else. And that's really what it's all about. And as you said, sometimes you don't even remember the interaction, but I was so impacted by it. I got so many nuggets from it. And I was like, wow, just look at that. It's sometimes as simple and as profound as that.
no, but that's so good. Kerry, why? Because I was actually speaking from a pain point that I
Yes.
had.
You were very angry.
Oh, I love
Yeah, man, you were not amused. You were not
No,
amused.
because I've always thrived on relationships. As an only child for most of my very young life until I migrated
Mm.
and was with my brothers and stuff. And so I always had lots of friends. And then I come back here and nobody wants to be my friend because I wasn't a part of their, late high school, or I wasn't a part of their
Yeah.
university. And, I
Oh.
even started a book club just so I could, and it never worked. The book club never lasts because they were all friends and I wasn't one of the friends. So,
Oh my gosh.
oh
I
gosh.
remember you were not amused. You were not happy.
So funny. Oh, this is great. No, thank you so much for that. That was really beautiful. And
Yeah.
I actually just wanted to touch on Paul very quickly because
Mm-hmm.
my very short interaction with him was also life changing. And I am definitely a Paul stalker online. I've even tried to get him on a couple of different initiatives. I was just like, any way I can interact with this man would be just so powerful and life
Yeah.
changing. He's
Yeah.
very inspiring. But that day was actually the first time I had shared my story in
Yeah.
just a public
I
space like
remember
that.
that. Yeah.
And when we had a photo moment together, he was whispering in my ear about me telling that story.
Mm-hmm.
And it really was one of those little steps that I was able to climb up on to say, okay, this guy that I respect, that's been a mentee, an intern of Oprah's, and has traveled the world and worked with some senior people, if he can say you need to go tell that story, then maybe it will, and he's a guy,
Yeah.
then maybe it'll be of value to somebody. So it gave me just that
Absolutely.
little bit of that little motivation. Sometimes you just need that to hear that other voice.
Yeah.
So I have a great deal of respect for Paul and his whole movement. You guys should check him out. He's all over the place. Just look up Paul Brunson. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so let's segue now into the bedroom space. Now, in bedroom, we talk about the intimate relationships that we have in our life.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were starting our chat today, you shared something with me. We're actually just doing a little brief catch up, and you talked very briefly to me about your family and that things are really busy for you right now, and that your dad is going through a terminal illness. Would you mind sharing some of that with us in terms of how navigating that space? Because you actually mentioned your dad earlier that, you wanted to being a doctor. You thought that was the path because you wanted to make daddy proud. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm sensing that you are very close to your father.
Yeah.
And, how has this experience of him transitioning been for you?
Yeah. Um, it to be very honest with you, I don't know if I've fully come to terms with it as yet. He has cancer. He was diagnosed with prostate cancer about 15 or so years ago.
Oh, wow.
So he's been ill for a while. It's just he's been doing very well. He had an initial surgery, radiation treatment, and had been doing well for years until I guess, the cancer advanced. And a year ago, he literally just hit the floor. And we're now at a stage where it's more like palliative care. The
Mm-hmm.
palliative care is going very, very well. We didn't think we would have had him all of a year later, but we still have the benefit of him being here. He's still very lucid. He can move around, in a limited way around the
Yeah.
home. So we're very happy to still have him. But I guess for me, with where my father is concerned, is really looking at his life, because here you are interacting with someone who
Mm-hmm.
still in his mind has a lot of unfinished business,
Mm-hmm.
and looking, I guess, with some amount of remorse
Yeah.
decisions or things that could have been done differently. And he thought he had more time to do them still, and he could always, fix and change.
Yeah.
As someone who is living and hopefully has a lot of time left, we hope, not good, we never know.
Yes.
It's a learning experience to see someone in that place, because you realize that, you know what, all of the things you said you were going to do, all the things you said you could have done or should have
Mhm.
chosen differently around, now is the time to do it. That for me is the
Yeah.
biggest lesson, taken
Mm.
from him, because no, he virtually has no choice anymore. He's literally just living off of the love and the extra time he gets to spend with us,
Yeah.
but still with so much unfinished business in his mind. And I think he still struggles with that. So
Mhm.
the lesson for me was, what can I do to ensure that I don't end up with that same level of remorse and regret
Yeah.
whenever my time comes? That I'm loving hard, I'm doing hard, I'm exploring dreams,
Yeah.
I'm pouring into people, whatever it is I need to do to not come away with any sort of, boy, I wish I could have done that differently. I wish
Mhm.
I could have done that at all. That's what I'm focusing on. And it's the biggest lesson for me as well.
No, that's really beautiful. I too am very present to the fragility of life, not just from my own experiences with cancer,
Mm-hmm.
but also because of all the interactions I have with other persons who
Mm-hmm.
are either currently battling it or have lost someone.
Mm-hmm.
um, I do a lot of crying for other
Mm-hmm.
people's pain, I will
Yes.
say.
Yeah, you're an
And
empath.
this, yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
this space of love and as it relates to a parent is one that can be so life changing. Whether it
Mm-hmm.
is you had them or you didn't as you were growing up,
Mm-hmm.
it impacts your heart space, it impacts your soul space, it impacts how you show up as an adult in life.
Mm-hmm.
And especially now as you participate in this active transition,
Mm-hmm.
you are still learning a
Mm-hmm.
new way to love,
Yeah.
your dad, and a new way to learn from all the things that he's experiencing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
that's
Absolutely.
beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Etc. That probably would kind of get on each other's nerves, maybe. We said, you know what, we don't want to risk losing the friendship. So we chose friendship. And that's exactly what we did. And we graduated from university. We kept the friendship going, going out to lunch, going out to dinner. He started to date who eventually became his wife. So she came into the picture and found me, and my husband came into the picture and found him.
Him.
And
Hmm.
we'd still go out for drinks, he and I, and we go out and we hang out. Obviously, I mean, at their wedding, I was a crucial part of the planning and execution of the wedding, because this is my best friend, and I mean, his wife knew of my intentions. And to this day, how
Wow.
we interact is we interact in a way that makes our spouses comfortable, because at the end of the day, we still have to respect that.
Yes.
So, for us, it's breakfast or lunch, no dinners, right?
Late night drinks by the
No.
AC hotel.
Yeah, no. It's breakfast and lunch. But at every single point in time, it's about us always being there, the love that's there. I mean, I remember when my husband and I, we lost our first pregnancy when I was 5 months along, and I was in the hospital for a few weeks trying to save it. And it was he and his wife who were by my bedside, literally,
Oh.
one of the few people in the inner circle who I had allowed into that space.
Hmm.
And it really is something. And that's the thing, a lot of people look on and say, boy, there's no way that a man and a woman can be friends.
Yeah.
And at every single juncture for us where that question could have possibly come up throughout the 20 odd years we've been friends, it was always, well, what are we going to choose? Because every decision you make can have an impact on that friendship. And for us, it was always choosing the friendship
Friendship
first,
first.
and we didn't want to risk losing it. And so that's basically what it was for us. It was
Wow.
choosing the friendship.
Oh wow. No, that's so wow. I just love this because I mean, I like We have so many gems. Like, okay, which
Yes.
angle we're gonna come out with this? I've always been very curious. I actually have one other girlfriend that has a best friend that's also a guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I used to catch feelings when she would have his picture up and hearts. And I'm like, but she married. How can, like in my
Yeah.
mind, because your mind does that, right? Your brain is trying to protect
Yeah.
what is normal.
Yeah.
So I think it's really cool that you actually have a thriving friendship.
Mm-hmm.
The question I have that's kind of the follow up though is,
Yeah.
would you say though that um, a solid friendship
Mm.
is really the basis for a marriage that can be everlasting? Because what I'm finding in my now experience, like I've done the lovey-dovey and the head over heels, but what my now experience has more than anything else is a friendship. Like I can't stop talking. Like I just want to talk to you all day, all night. Like, and I'm not like I like my space. I
Mm.
want you to do your man thing over there. But with this relationship, it's like he's my friend. I talk to him about every single thing under the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I can't imagine not having that, in any other kind of love relationship, now that I know what it's like.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would definitely say friendship would have to be at the root of it. I
Yeah.
mean, for me, certainly if I'm speaking about my own marriage journey, and no marriage is perfect, let's just put that out there. At the end of the day, it's the friendship to my mind that's going to sustain it for longevity,
Yeah. I
because
think
there are
so.
times when the physicality of it just can't happen for one
Yeah.
reason or another. There's
Yeah.
illness, there is stress, there
Yeah.
are emotional issues that
There are
just
children.
oh, can I get an amen? I mean,
There are
it's
children.
yeah, it's just, it's crazy. And I mean, speaking about going through things like infant and child loss, pregnancy,
Yeah.
child loss, that
Yeah.
that really put an emotional strain on the relationship. And it's the friendship connection that's what's going to get you past those challenging
Yeah.
situations. Can I
Yeah.
be open with this person? Can I
Yeah.
share all of who I am with them? Do I feel accepted by
Yeah.
them? And can I rely on them? I think it's a very crucial part of an
Absolutely.
intimate relationship in that
No,
sense.
beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to talk just a little bit about your bliss space. What does Kerry Ann do for her self-love, self-care downtime? We were talking about how, busy you are before we started recording. What are you doing to access your bliss?
Okay, so the easiest answer, and I'm only giving it because it's easy, is that physical self-care is very, very important to me.
Ah,
Because if physically I don't feel well, then it translates to my emotional state. So
ah,
I believe in little things like, I go for a pedicure once a month. I this with this natural hair thing going on now, I'm like deep conditioning every week. You know the drill, right? I'm deep
yes,
conditioning every week, following all the latest this that product. I'm
yes,
a product junkie. I'm trying different things. Want to
yes.
make sure the hair is fresh. I'm taking good care of my skin. Go and get a massage every now and again. I do believe physical self-care is important. For me though, a big thing that's a lifeline for me is actually exercise. And I
Mm.
had to find a place in my life to be able to fit exercise, because I you remember journey I mentioned earlier at the top of the show that I had lost 20 odd pounds.
Yes, that's
um
major. That's
yeah.
like really major.
Yeah, and I can't. It took me about 2 years to do it. Let's just be very honest with you. This is not a commercial for any sort of program, but it took a lifestyle shift. And one of the things that I have to credit the fact that exercise was a key part of that, because exercise for me was part of the way I keep my sanity. So, and I
Mm.
exercise in my living room with my
Okay.
with my phone displaying a workout. I literally just cock up my phone on an ottoman in the living room, and I exercise in the living room.
And that just does it.
And
That
that
like
does
is
it.
the setup.
25
Okay.
minutes, 25 minutes a day, 5, 6 days a week. I subscribe to the service. I will do the workouts in my living room because I'm not a gym person.
Yeah.
I'm like, if my hair look awful and my face look crunchy,
It don't matter. Yeah.
yeah, I'm in my living room. But what it is though, Stacy, it's a sanity keeping mechanism in the sense that
Yes.
recognize, all the great feel good endorphins that exercise provides,
Yes.
especially during this COVID time. For me, it was a lifeline. And of course, the
Mm.
spin-off benefit is that the more you do it, the better you look. And the better you look, sometimes too, the better you feel about
Feel.
yourself.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's not about doing exercise because I'm trying to lose weight. It was
Yes.
just, this is the thing that's going to keep me sane in this madness, lock up in here with the
Mm.
children and the husband all day.
Yes.
Literally a sanity keeping mechanism for me, so that's really exercise. Outside of that, there's some awesome apps that I also use for mental wellness.
Mm-hmm.
So on Duolingo, I'm doing Spanish. I do
Oh,
10-15 minutes a day of Spanish practice. And there's another awesome app, a mental training app, Elevate. I'm going to
okay.
recommend
Okay.
it.
My partner has Elevate.
Yeah, I love Elevate. You do your little things every day. I just love those kind of mental workouts,
Yeah.
because it also is a way of escaping from whatever else your brain normally does a workout on, to
Yes.
just kind of get lost and maybe have a little fun at the same time.
Yeah.
So,
And give the brain some exercise, which we so don't, we're not
hmm,
really good at doing that, right? So
exactly,
so
exactly.
no, that's
So,
really
yeah.
lovely. I actually love the idea of just having that app and not necessarily having to do the whole trainer and the gym
Mm-hmm.
with all the equipment. And it's just like
Mm-hmm.
you find your way of
Yeah,
connecting with whatever your experience is.
exactly,
So for a
exactly.
while now, I've been wanting to start back dancing because I love to dance. And
Yes, I
in the midst of
remember.
COVID, I had actually found this app
Mm-hmm.
that was teaching dancing, giving like, current dance classes. And I
Mm-hmm.
figured, that would probably help to up my skills with TikToks, and maybe my girls would like make a TikTok or two with me. I don't know. But you've
Good
inspired me
luck.
to go back to looking at the apps and seeing,
Yeah,
what I can get
yeah,
into. So thanks for that.
no
Okay,
problem.
so my very last question now, before I let you go, is one I ask all my guests. If you had one piece of advice that you could give to the Balanced Lady Boss community, it can be just general, a quote, a principle you live by, a African proverb, anything like that. That you would share. It can be either in boardroom, bedroom, or bliss, or just general. What would that one thing be?
Learn to derive energy by
Mhm.
pouring into the next generation of balanced lady bosses. And it's
Mm.
not cliche in the
Oh,
sense
that's
that
so good. Write that
recognize
down.
that teenage girls, especially in this time. I mean, you and I never had the struggles like what they're having because we never had Instagram reminding
No,
us every
no.
day that we don't look good, okay? And that
Yes,
our
yes.
bodies aren't good enough and we don't have enough curves going on and all the makeup and so on. They have a tremendous amount of bars that they're trying to reach because society and social media places it on them, and they struggle significantly.
Yeah.
So much that we can impart on them. There's so much that we can pour into them to help
Mhm.
them to see the beauty that's within themselves, to see life through a different veil, to change how they perceive themselves, how they perceive the world, how they perceive men, how they perceive friendships. There's
Mhm.
so much that can be done. And sometimes I think that as women, because of all the demands, we're spouses, we're mothers, we're friends,
Yes.
daughters, we're working, um, we get so caught up sometimes in our own struggles that we forget that there's someone else to pour into. And guess what? The spin-off benefit usually is that when you pour into other people, that actually gives you energy as well.
Yeah.
And they benefit and
And you
you
benefit.
benefit as well.
Yeah.
So whether it's through maybe an informal mentorship relationship,
Mhm.
or just finding a way to connect with your alma mater, your school, how can you get involved in some kind of big sister program, but pour into that next generation. They need it, and if you're honest with yourself, you probably need
Mhm.
it too. So That
Wow.
would be my one bit of.
No, that's really good. And I actually love how you position that. Learn how to derive energy from that serving, from that giving back and pouring. Because we talk so much about pouring from yourself until you're empty is not a good thing. But if you can
Yeah.
really find that balance between getting energy from pouring into another young woman who's coming up
Yeah.
behind you, that
Yeah.
can be such a great gift for both persons. You know, oh, I love that.
Absolutely. I mean, if
Wonderful.
I could share, if I could share just an experience when I was away in Maryland, I was going through a very difficult time in my relationship at the time with my then boyfriend, now husband. And it really took a toll on me. And I was led to an organization. It's called Greater DC Cares. But what it was it allowed me the opportunity to go and serve women in distress.
Oh.
And so I would go and babysit kids of women who are in shelters coming from battered relationships, and I would babysit their kids so that they can go and do skills training classes to better
Mm-hmm.
themselves and get better jobs. Or I
Mm-hmm.
would slice and dice onions in a soup kitchen for
Mm.
homeless women. And
Wow.
Stacy, you're in a place where you think you got problems. Yeah, you and your boyfriend are having problems. Oh, wow. And then here you are, looking at these women homeless, pushing their carts in to get a free meal, or these mothers who are children living in shelters who don't
Yes.
know what's going
Yes.
to be next for them. And you're like, wow, it was so eye-opening to me, and it really helped to change my perspective, not only in terms of how I looked at my own life, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
but the opportunity to pour into other women who needed help and that I could give, whether it be just slicing and dicing onions or just looking after their kids for an hour or two so they could take a class.
Yeah.
Those little things just mean so much. So I always encourage women. It helps to shift your perspective on how you look at life. It helps someone else. And as I say, it helps you as well. So I
Mm-hmm.
always encourage it.
Mm. Beautiful. Oh, you're so beautiful. Thank you so much, Carrie Ann, for joining the Balanced Lady Boss show and for dropping so many nuggets. This is going to be interesting to try to pull out from my reflections where I talk about all the gems I got. I'm going to have to narrow down to like top 5 or something. So thank you so much. I wish you all the best with your podcast. I'm continued success with your career in marketing, where you are now and wherever it will take you in the future, and just an amazing, 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 balanced, loving life.
Thank you,
Mhm.
Stacy. And I so appreciate you as well. First of all, for the opportunity to be here.
Oh,
I'm
thanks.
a big fan of yours. Again, you're one of
Thank you.
those women I look at, I'm like, boy, I mean, I really are going with nothing. But and as I said to you, I got your book for Christmas. A girlfriend of mine
Yay.
gifted me your awesome book for Christmas. So it's really great to be here and to share with you. And I wish you the very best as well in every single
Awesome.
thing that you do.
Thank you. I absolutely receive all of it. Thank you very much.
All righty.
Okay, ladies, thank you so much for tuning in to another epic episode of the show. Please make sure that you share this with all your friends and everyone who needs to be a part of the Balanced Lady Boss community that's not yet. You can invite them to come on board and to join. Thanks so much for watching, for those of you who are watching on YouTube, and stay tuned for more to come from the Balanced Lady Boss show.